Flame Over is what we're calling pyro-like. So it's a top-down action game featuring firefighting, but it's got road-like mechanics like randomly generated levels, permadeath, random power-ups, and consistent upgrade system. So the idea is you play as this little chap, plays Carruthers, and you go through 16 levels of the Infernal Industries building, which is, like I say, put together randomly. There's 4 different themes, so as you go from level 4 to 5, it will change all the assets. There'll be new hazards for you to sort of master. Just as you get comfortable, you basically get a whole set of other things to worry about. And that happens 4 times, so yeah, basically you have to work your way through the building. There's hazards like on this door there was a backdraft. All of it, you can see this room's pretty well ablaze. All of the different materials that the objects in the rooms are made of burn at different speeds and at different rates, and they have different hazards. You can see there a material fabric fire just jumped through the door and set some of this room on fire again, so I have to be careful with those. I can throw my water bombs like this. I can use an extinguisher, which is really powerful and fast acting, but it doesn't soak the area, so very quickly the fire will come back. Or I can use my hose, which is a little slower, but it's got a long reach, and it will soak the ground, as you can see. As I go over stuff, it gets a shader on it, so you can see what you've done, basically. This regular fire is fairly sort of self-explanatory. It kind of spreads and works its way around rooms behind you. This grey smoke is electrical fire. You can see it on this television over here. While it's completely harmless to you, it's very, very fast at spreading regular fires. So while it takes a few seconds for this orange stuff to re-establish itself, the grey smoke will pump out fire. As soon as it's dried the area around it, it will pump it out really quickly. It's not detectable very easily though, so you might notice, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little red thermometer. As you go nearer to the heat source, it climbs up. So while you're sort of searching your way around, a bit blind because of all the ceilings that are hiding the rooms, it sort of gives you a point in the right direction. You've also got a mini-map in the corner which rotates around with you, and there's a large map here that I can use to figure out where I want to go next. It's a bit small for the camera perhaps, but there's a little lightning bolt symbol in this room here. That is the electrical room for the cupboard for the level. So if I go in there, it will turn off the power, which is very useful because that kills off every single electrical fire in the level in one go.
It means you don't have to juggle the fire.
If I can find it, where is it?
The extinguisher is specifically for electrical fire, and the hose is specifically for the actual fire. So you're juggling the 2 weapons.
If you were to put the water on the electrical fire, does that?
We did have it so it hurt blaze, and we were thinking about making it so it fires up more violently, but a bit of testing just revealed that it's hard enough already, and juggling the 2 is actually quite enough of a challenge as it is. It doesn't put out. So the extinguisher puts out the grey smoke, fire is put out by the water, and then once you've turned all the electricity off, then all the black smoke goes away, and you can use the extinguisher and the hose to put out all the fire a lot easier than you would have been able to.
So my other
running to the cupboard to turn it off, and then back into the level to try and save everyone.
So my other bit of equipment, apart from the hose and the extinguisher, is this axe. So these red doors can only be opened by smashing them up with an axe, so I have to sort of button mash until it breaks, and I can go in, I can turn off the power. Happens to be a little guy here I can rescue as well. So these NPCs are the only means of restoring time, so we give you 5 minutes at the start of the game, and then from then on the only way you've got of getting more time is rescuing these little guys.
Yeah.
There's also a cat there, you can see, follow me. He, because we had to have a cat, obviously. So instead of time, he gives you health.
Okay.
So there's also a shop in every other level where you can use the money. You can see the coins flying into me.
Yeah.
As I put the fires out, you can use those coins to purchase power-ups.
Do you get more points if you finish faster?
It was another thing that we did have in.
Yeah.
But we kind of wanted to be able to it kind of made it more boring because it was possible for it to sort of burn down to nothing.
Oh right. Okay.
And the fire would then not spread, so it kind of became like if you got like a fabric fire going back through a door, it wouldn't like do anything. So plus this allows you to, if you're brave enough to run out of time, it allows you to sort of farm and like grind the fire a bit. If you're not worried about speed, if you're going for money instead. On that note, the time it used to kill you outright, but because the game's already pretty harsh, we decided that it would be fairer to just give you a penalty to make it a bit harder. So what happens is a Grim Reaper will appear, and he will chase you around the level. He can go through the walls and doors and everything, and if he touches you, that's it. If you can walk a worker back into the exit zone to top your time up, though, he'll disappear, so you can recover.
That's pretty cool then. Yeah.
And getting to a next level with 0 on the clock, it gives you a few seconds to head start.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's literally he was spawning and like touching you as you were sort of arriving at the level, so kind of frustrating. You can see I've run out of water here.
Yeah.
I've got very little extinguisher left either, so I can walk around the map and I can see these points on the wall which will show up on the mini map too. So there's extinguisher top ups. Here he is. I better go and rescue these guys quick. Here he comes. If I build up enough of a head start, I can get him to follow me. So he should disappear hopefully. There you go. And the cat's giving me an extra heart, so good times. Where was I going? Here. So yeah, you can't unlock the exit until you put every single fire out, but as long as you can avoid death or keep the time tops up, it's okay. Hopefully. It's just more of a question of staying safe and managing the fires by not letting them get behind you. Because they have a tendency of sort of sneaking around the back when you've made a space. So I just use that water cooler to fill up. It's a one-shot use, but it's instant, whereas these little fountains and sinks and things, it creeps up really slowly. I have to stay there and hold. I'll show you what happens if I'll get this guy back out of the way. I'll show you what happens if I open a door without putting the fire out. I get a backdraft in the face. If there's anything within range as well, it'll set fire to that too. So throw some water bombs, get some water down.
Fortunate every turn.
Yeah.
Do you have a limit of water bombs?
Yeah, it's one of the things actually. I can't remember. Did I mention upgrades yet?
I don't think so.
No.
So you've got your score. So we have like 2 leaderboards. One's for best scores. So for those, you can take your time. You can let the fire build up again, and as long as you don't worry about running out of time, getting hit by death, you can sort of grind the fire, earn loads of coins. Maybe spend less of them on the power-ups than you would have done to keep your score high, and try and build up the score that way. But I think this sort of game, really everyone's interested in speed running, so we've got best time leaderboards as well. So for those, you won't be so worried about spending the money. You'll want to pick up like the speed boots and other power-ups that help, like super axe that never breaks, so you don't have to, you can just be more direct. The money you don't spend, is persistent. So although it's a roguelike, and once you die, that's it. You start back at the start. You have an upgrade screen. There's also mini missions that unlock upgrades, and then you can spend money on relatively passive upgrades that don't affect the balance of the game too much, but they make it easier. So you can tolerate the heat of the fire for a little longer, up to 25% at max, I think. You can get a coin boost, so the money you earn is at the end of the level, it adds a percentage on top. It's quicker to refill your water, things to help people, to give you a little bit of carrot on top of the hefty stick. So, and hopefully keep people who maybe don't have such a high tolerance for pain interested, while they're really learning the ropes. It feels like you've got something right, even if you're failing. Kind of like Rogue Legacy a bit, I guess. So this room is one of the harder rooms in this theme, because there's a lot of electrical fire, so it's really quick for the fire to spread back. I have to keep watching behind me constantly. I've run out of extinguisher as well, which is bad. Oh, I haven't, sorry, my mistake, I saw a 0 next to it. Right, so this one's already come back, you can see. I need to get my water down as quickly as I can, keep pushing forwards. problem, so that's okay. Obviously, I could attempt to skip through this room, find my electrical cupboard, which seems to be on the right, and that would make that a lot easier. But again, this is something else that we don't want to sort of hold your hand too much. It's up to you, really.
Yeah.
What you want to do.
Yeah, we want it to be tough.
We've also got they're not in this build, but just for the sake of sort of the sanity of people who are playing the demo. We've got falling hazards as well, so we're hoping to tie those into the sort of general state of health of a room. So while the stuff gets blackened to a certain extent, once it gets to a certain point, so say like 80% of the room's burnt out or something, those hazards will trigger if you stand still for too long. So you get like falling chunks of masonry. They can take 3 hearts off instantly, or there's a smaller one which is a ceiling tile. I've told this story already today, but I like to collect the workers in one spot, because it means it's just I'm lazy. I don't have to keep tapping the follow all the time, so I'll get them safe, and then I'll sort of corral them in like a little circle, just so when I come back later, I can just push the button once. And I was doing that, and as I was sort of stood in the middle trying to get them nicely arranged, a piece of rubble fell down, and I managed to duck out of the way, but it killed all of them. But those are the sorts of things that you remember, you know. We want to have plenty of those moments. I've got a dead cat here and a dead worker. I think there was a wall of fire that moved through the room. They will instantly kill it. It rolls along like a wave and it instantly kills anything. If I'm quick enough, I can spot them and squirt the water on the floor where they're stood, and it will make like a hole in the wall, and then it will close back up again. So you can sort of quickly make them safe until you can get there. This lady is Miss Ion, cleverly named. She gives you the missions. So she's just told me there's a... that was my idea. Flash of inspiration. She's told me there's her briefcase. It's a really simple one to start with, just to get used to the mechanics. There's a briefcase hidden somewhere in here, I think.
She tells you what kind of room it's in. It's up to you to sort of recognise the sort of furniture and stuff in the room.
I think I picked it up, I'm not sure. Yes, so she's going to follow me now.
And she's the lady that will unlock the upgrade system tokens, so the types of upgrades will unlock based on using her missions.
You might have noticed that I found a timer in randoming the level. There are a few hidden objects here and there. I'm just going to move through my water. So you can find like smaller chunks of time than the ones you would buy in the shop, or like a single water bomb, or I think we're going to put some money in there as well, just to encourage you to search. And there's a power up called a magnifying glass, which does like a radial effect about so big, and anything inside there that's hidden will appear like a sort of ghostly X-ray, so you know where to go. That can be really useful in some of the sort of fetch missions as well. There's one where she's left a load of files lying around, and you have to put them in like a fireproof bin so they're not destroyed. So that's quite time costly unless you've got that power up, but it's worth it because it will give you the mission upgrades. There's a wall of fire again. I can make a hole in the middle. Come out. Otherwise I'm fried basically. So yeah, we want you to sort of master this sort of basics, and then as you move to the next theme, it ups the ante a bit, and there's more. We've got like proximity explosives, and as Mark said, gas leaks. There's like a chemical barrel that when it sort of burns down like half itself, it splodges everything around it with highly flammable chemicals, which makes everything like paper just instantly.
You can wash that away with your hose.
And the proximity barrel, we haven't sort of tested it too much yet, but the idea is that if you sort of creep past it, it won't go off. But if you run past it, it starts to flash, and you can use some of your precious extinguishers to freeze it if you're quick enough. But obviously, you can set up a chain reaction. If one blows up, then it sets up the next one, you know. So you want to. And we've got other horrible things like grills in the floor that spew out fireballs, and we want to slowly make it more and more intense. But it's pretty hard as it is. But hopefully it's sort of firm but fair.
What other theme levels do you have on here?
So this is the office, which is levels 1 to 4, and then after that we've got the executive lounge, which is
A little bit like this.
yeah,
Google Office.
perhaps not quite as luxurious, but it's got more. it's fairly similar, but it's
jacuzzis and bars and little restaurant
a
thingies
cinema and all this sort of
cinema,
stuff. But it sort of ups the ante with more flammable floors, and there's kind of cul-de-sacs, things like that, where the fire can spread through, but you have to go round. Then the lab has got chemical spills, acids, gas leaks, and then the factory there's like proximity barrels, explosives, and these vents that sort of spew out like columns of fire and stuff. So hopefully it stays nice and challenging.
Overall 4 themes, we've got I think over 1,200 rooms as well. So there's a lot of random generation going on here. You're very, very, very unlikely to get the same score twice. Probably impossible, to be honest.
We're getting close to alpha. Like concept-wise, we've got all of our rooms manufactured. 50% of them are integrated into the game and more or less final-ish. The other 50% we just have to add in and then just play test. This is a hairy situation already. There you go.
So I mean, we'll probably do something like knocking Blaze back or setting them on fire, or maybe even a Call of Duty style red, token screen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. People realise that's a health damage indicator.
I mean, that's where the bulk of the work, other than like the boring stuff like sort of back of house, getting it TRC compliant and leaderboards working totally right. It's outside of those dull things. It's mostly just balancing and getting those extra little features in that we want, just to make it a bit more polished. But I think for an indie game, anyhow, it's 5 guys, and I think we've reached a pretty high standard. Definitely visually, especially on Vita.
Yeah. Who came up with the actual idea for the game then?
That would be me. I got volunteered. I'm rubbish at saying no to these sort of requests for help. So someone we needed an extra fire marshal in our building, so I said, I'll do it. And I had to sit through this sort of tedious video about how fires can sort of spread through a room in 3 minutes, and there's like a sort of time lapse of like 8 seconds, 15 seconds, and then all of a sudden it sort of shot across the roof. And I just thought, that's cool. And I remember I had this game on the SNES years ago called The Fireman, and it was really fun, but like it was like Zombies Ate My Neighbours kind of game, where the fire was literally a baddie, so it followed you around and stuff. And I thought I really liked it, but I wanted it to feel more like what you would expect. Yeah. And I think where the roguelike thing came from, the guy was talking about how when they go into a real fire, they can't see anything, so they're like feeling their way around and they don't know the place where they are. So I kind of thought I was on a bit of a roguelike thing myself at the time, and I liked the idea that they had to go in and they didn't know where the point was going to be or who was in there or what's going on basically.
When that's flashing.
So I thought, I like roguelikes. This seems like an interesting thing. Let's stick them together. And then the art style was really, because I think it can be quite a heavy topic. If you went like realistic, it's pretty. So, and I've been playing Spelunky and some other stuff, and the 2D artist who sort of concepted all the character design and everything. All I said was big nose, moustache, and a big head, and sort of a couple of dry runs. It was like, no, make the nose bigger, moustache sounds good. Yeah,
we did that a few times.
Eventually, it's like, are you really this big? You're like, no more.
Until we got him in the game, like he had a very big moustache already, and then obviously he's got the helmet on, and you couldn't see it from our view. So it's like, right now we've got to make it really, really big.
It's kind of like if we twist it, we experimented with the angle. And when it was sort of higher up, you needed some sort of pointer, like the Mexican on a bike when you draw when you're a kid. So like circle with the little lines. So I wanted something that just was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then Paul just came up with this sort of art style, gives it to Mark, and he sort of makes it and gives it back to be textured just the same as how he drew it in 2D.
And then you see the back smoke there.
So we've got this kind of tiny look. But I don't think I can recall other games that have got as much in terms of assets in the rooms as us. I don't think pretty much on any system, whether it's anything. there's so much on the desks and stuff, and it actually does things like electrics. Yeah. So I didn't initially. I think we're looking at being quite iconic. So maybe things would have been coloured. So like wood was one colour and fabric was one colour. But I thought when we saw how much detail we could manage to push, it was just like, well, let's just let people figure it out.
So turning the camera to make sure you wanted to make sure that turning the
We're saying Q4, and we're going to do our level best to get. So probably it's going to be later, I guess, maybe November. Like I say, the groundwork's there, so it's just a question of polish and debugging and getting those TLC boxes ticked. But Sony are pretty decent at helping you with that, so they couldn't have been more encouraging, you know. They're really keen for it to go on PS4. I think.
Oh really?
Us guys internally are. I mean, there's some sort of management side stuff we need to think about. What's right to do next. But it's in Unity, so you literally click on fields, put it to PC or PS4 or whatever, and then press build. And all of our textures are 1080.
Oh, brilliant.
So they're 1080. They're HD ready textures, and all the models. You can play around in the editor with like the camera and come right down into the level, and it's pretty much good enough. If it wasn't for the sort of shallow height of the world, you could quite easily make it like over the shoulder or something, I think.
It loses its sort of stylistic side of it.
And I think your tactical awareness, I think it was important. And plus, because of the roguelike thing, I think it kind of just fits, you know. Yeah. But I told you the idea of like an Easter egg in that maybe or something, but like it looks too shallow. It's like this. It's not high enough.
Did it for the Morpheus or the Oculus?
It's been mentioned. It has been mentioned. Yeah.
I've got a first-person camera in. That's really works.
Yeah.
The ceilings is just a field of view problem. So as soon as you sort of field of view around the camera, it's fine.
The editor, we can push it. We've kept the levels kind of the size they are, just for feel and sanity of the player, I think. But it can push like 200 rooms, which is big. It goes on and on and on. It's like this kind of thing.
Yeah, the dungeon procedural generator is really good.
We've got some weird corridor shapes. Because otherwise, if it's just boxes, you know, you have to. We've got some weird dog leg ones.
And it's also important to make like all the rooms a different shape because then you recognise them. So most of the normal rooms are all square. Things like the fuse board room and the safe room and things like that are all specific shapes that you recognise. Sure. So on the mini-map you recognise them immediately as well after you play.
Hopefully it's got a lot of legs, like people will come back to it.
That's the design of generation.
I'm like a mad Spelunky fan. I've never finished it, but I don't care. You know, I just keep playing it. I'll never get off third theme, I think. I don't mind. I'm hoping it's kind of like that. To make the speedruns an official thing. This is totally not confirmed, but we would really like to do a daily challenge. Because how the levels are generated is just with a seed number anyway. So if we could push that out, it would have to be via a server that we would have to sort of foot the bill for. So I don't know if we've got the time to do it, or I would love to do it. Maybe afterwards if we have to, as like a patch or something.
Have a fixed level and then
so you push the same seed to everybody.
Same level.
So as well as the speed run.
Yeah.
It's a lower bar, right? So I think you need a community, even though we've got the leaderboard side of it there.
Yeah.
So to make it more official, I think you need to build a community before the speed run becomes like a big thing. So with a daily challenge, you're not asking them to be able to get these 16 levels in a row and never have anything bad happen. It's just the one level, so it's more attainable, I guess. Yeah. And the bragging rights are like.
Once you can learn the path, learn the quickest path around.
I think maybe I know like Ollie does it, and I think Spelunky does it too, doesn't it?
I think so.
But I would like to do it so. Again, this is all pie in the sky, but I'd like to do it so you can have like infinite practices.
Alright.
And then just one go. So you can only record a time one time. So you can play through, kind of get used to it. I think that's pretty competitive. And you get one chance.
Yeah.
If we did a PS4 version, you could video it. It would be so cool. Yeah. the programmer, if he sees this, I'm so sorry. Freaking out.
One programmer.
Yeah, sorry Gavin. Yeah, just one guy. Yeah.
One programmer, one 2D artist, one 3D artist, one room builder.
One whip cracker.
Yeah, now one idea.
Cool. Any more questions? All good. Right, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very much, guys.
Thanks for filming.